You gotta keep on breathing if you wanna make sense of it all. We will not fall. All right, so let's take a nice comfortable seat, whatever that is for you. I'm sitting across my bolster, but so allowing my knees to drop down towards the earth and so that I can lift up, sit nice and tall. Just check in with the pelvis position here, either tilting it forward or back just for a moment, and just find that neutral place where the pelvis likes to sit. Gently draw in the navel, relax the sternum down and soften through the shoulders. Good. Take the hands to the knees, palms face down, and the hands are just gently resting there, fingertips pointing down towards the earth. And you can close the eyes or you can take a soft gaze, whatever works for you today, however you feel. And just start to become present. Just take these moments to check in with your surroundings, how you feel, and start to come to a nice, easy and steady breath. Breathing in and out of the nostrils of equal length, breathing in, maybe a small retention at the top before letting that breath out, exhaling, releasing tightness, tension, anything that doesn't need to be with you here today, just your mind and your body working together. And throughout this month, we will be looking at the 8 limbs of yoga from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And this practice, starting with the first limb of the Yamas. And the Yamas are the external disciplines, really the how we behave, how we act, how we think, and how we project toward others. And that includes the environment as well, not just people, but animals and the environment. It's almost like a living code of conduct and moral guidelines to just follow and to invite onto the mat, but also into our daily lives as well, taking yoga off the mat. We're going to look at Ahimsa and Satya for this practice today. Ahimsa being no harm to others, but also to ourselves, being kind in all we say, do, and think, but also, and Satya being the honesty, integrity, and authenticity of our actions. Yeah, and they're both relatable on and off the mat. So check in with how you feel physically, first of all. Give yourself a little body scan all the way from the crown of the head right down to the toes. Checking in on areas that feel tight, tense, any gripping, and also areas that feel really relaxed and good today. Just ask yourself, how do I feel today, and what do I need most from this particular practice as I come to the mat? And always take that practice as you feel on the day. And that's really just inviting the first Yama of Ahimsa is to be kind to ourselves on the day, not last week or last year, but how we feel today. And Satya, being truthful and honest with ourselves. Take a deep breath in and a sighing breath out. Just relax. Let the spine release. Let the chin drop towards the chest. Let the head become heavy. You start to release the shoulders down the back and you're just rounding through the spine. Take a few deep breaths there. You'll notice, obviously, that the diaphragm becomes a lot closer towards the heart space here. And then nice and gently start to roll up and then lift the sternum and lift the chest, lift the gaze. Take the gaze to the sky. Open across the collarbones and feel the extension from the lower back all the way to the base of the skull. Nice and slowly bring yourself back into center and just lift the knees, bring them out in front of you and just give yourself a big hug, relax into the feet and the ankles. I'm going to come straight into a first posture, which is a toe squat. So coming to the back of your mat, and be really honest with yourself here, how flexible your toes could really be, but coming back quite far is going to be quite deep, quite intense for the posture of a toe squat. If you need to, bringing the body weight forward, maybe bringing the hands down, that takes a little bit of the challenge and intensity out of the pose. If your knees are uncomfortable, you can just pad out the knees here. We're just going to take a few nice, slow, deep breaths here, relaxing into the toes as much as possible, as much as you can bear. Taking a little smile to yourself. Feel relaxed through the rest of the body. Notice any increase in intensity as we hold the posture a little bit longer. We never want to damage our physical body, never want to damage our toes. And nice and slowly, let's bring the hands forward. Come into tabletop and then gently release the toes. Feel that nice gentle release there. Then just come into a nice gentle cat and cow from here. So the toes are releasing that fiery sensation. Rounding through the spine for cats and flexing through the spine for your cow. Nice and slowly, take a child's pose here. Just widen the knees, bring the big toes to touch and just soften the hips back towards the heels again. Only going as far as is comfortable, relaxing it out, the belly between the thighs. Maybe the hands reach forward or they support the head, or you might have a block just handy to pop the forehead on. And as the head comes down to the mat, just take a moment here to feel the weight of the head softening. Feel that gentle pressure on the forehead. Drawing back once more into your intention of the Yamas, Ahimsa and Satya. Not causing any harm and being truthful, honest, and authentic. Nice and slowly walk the hands back as you pull the navel in towards the spine, rolling up. Let's give ourselves a little ankle stretch. Bring the knees together, and the hands can come back behind you either on blocks or to the mat. And you can bring the fingers forward or out to the side, which is ever most comfortable for the wrists. Start to gently lift the knees and start to balance on the ankles there. Good. So the buttocks are just resting on the heels. The deeper that pose is, the higher those knees come and the further that you go back. If you take the hands away, all you're doing is balancing on the feet there. Yeah, nice. Scoop out through the belly, and you can drop the chin towards the chest if you like. Each tiny movement deepens the posture. Always knowing when to come out for yourself. Nice and slowly bring the hands down, let the knees come down, and again return back into that tabletop. This is where we're just going to lift up the right leg gently, just a little bit behind us, and start to gently circle through the ankle there. Oh, nice release, flexing, pointing, and rotating. Take that down, swap the foot, and gently release that from that ankle stretch, rotating and flexing and pointing. Give it a little shake and pop it down. Let's come into a melting heart pose. So you can use blocks for this one to intensify the stretch through the chest and the shoulders. I am going to use the blocks here because I've been doing it this week. Keeping the hips nice and high above the knees and just gently dropping the chest down towards the mat. Again, the head can come to the mat, ears between the biceps. Melting heart pose. You do not have to use the blocks, of course. Slow, deep breaths. Notice where the tightness and the target areas come for you. Noticing left and right, feeling different or imbalances or the same and similar. If you chose to use the blocks, just take one hand off at a time to slide them away. Bring both hands down and then gently slide forward onto the forearms and slide all the way down towards the mat, coming down into full prone, head to the back of the hands, and just widen the elbows out to the side as you drop the ankles out, relaxing through the legs here, swaying out through the hips. So here, just release through the chest and the shoulders. You can start to release right arm and just move it forward and backwards as much as feels good. You can move it any which way it wants to. And then take that to the opposite arm, left. Rotating through the shoulder girdle. And then let's come into Sphinx pose, bringing the hands out in front of you. Elbows nicely positioned underneath shoulders if it feels comfortable. And just making sure those heels are pressing up towards the sky and not rolling in towards one another, which gently gives the external rotation of the thigh and the hip. Slow, deep breaths, pulling navel to spine. Opening chest, face is relaxed, neck is soft, throat is long. And nice and slowly widen the elbows, bring yourself back down to the mat, sway out the hips from there. We're going to go into a half frog, taking the right leg out to the side of you, knee in line with the hip, opening up the ankle as well. So a gentle flexion there. Make sure that left leg stays in line with the hip and all 5 toes of that left leg placed down. Head can stay onto the hands, or you can come up into a little seal. So if you're coming up into the seal, the hands come to the outer edges of the mat, and you can gently press up into straight arms. So that might feel too deep for you into the spine, and you can slide them forward. You don't have to come too high. Even here is a good place. Or you stay down and work with the leg only. Try and soften through the right glute, right hip. So there's energy coming through in the seal pose. You're trying to drop that right pelvis, right hip as much as you can. The body never lies to how you feel when you start to work with the asana. And remember, the pranayama is also one of those 8 limbs. So the breath is as important as the posture itself. Nice and slowly roll down. If you chose the seal option, bring the head to the back of the hands and then bring that right leg back into center. Sway out through the hips. Left leg comes out to the side. Check in. Just look at the knee in line with your hip. Gentle flexion into the ankle there, so the inner edges of your feet press down. And make sure your right toes are pressing down and in line with the hip, and deciding to stay down or come up into that seal pose. Try not to let the shoulders creep up towards the ears. Make sure the shoulders are nice and equal, right and left. One isn't dipping, one isn't lifting. Chest is square to the front of the mat. That's always a challenge. Good. Nice. A few more breaths. Press away through those palms if you chose the seal option. Oh, didn't realize how challenging this was. Nice and slowly lower down. And head comes to back of the hands. And bring the left leg back. Big toes touch, heels fall out, sway out. And just reach out in front of you. If you had those blocks there, just gently bring them a little closer back to you. So we're going to use those in the next posture. Push yourself back through tabletop. Just take some time here to find the back extension, because we've just done Sphinx and Seal. So your back extension should feel nice. But your flexion, the rounding, be really slow and careful with that. I know I do. Have to be a little bit conscious coming out of back extensions, going straight into flexion with an injury, but be careful. We're going to come into dragon splits, which is going to work the back of our right leg. So padding out the left knee, if you need to, bringing the right foot forward. We're actually going to slide forward a little bit more. So ordinarily, what do I want to say? Our half splits, we would keep the hip nicely above the back knee. But this one, we're actually going to slide forward just a little bit more. So you're going to increase that space between the front heel and the back knee. Now here, you can relax that foot, but notice how it responds in the back leg. It puts more pressure into the back knee. So if you dig the heel in a little bit, takes that pressure away from the back knee. Try and release the tension through the wrists there, and those blocks can be on any height, and you might not even need them. You might just be able to slide them to one side. So if you are coming into a fold over that leg, gently letting the head fall down towards the shin. And again, being aware of how your body starts to respond, you might slide the foot a couple of inches further forward. Dragon splits. Make sure left pelvis drops as much as right. Take this slow and steady. We haven't warmed up the back of the legs. We're simply going to where our range of motion lies. Again, be kind to yourself. Be honest with yourself. The Ahimsa and Satya. Nice and slowly. Pull the heel back. Bring the blocks. Use those. And release that right leg back behind you. Just give it a little wiggle through the hip. Figure of 8. And let's come off of that left knee. Right knee goes down. Left leg slides forward. And again, slide forward a couple of inches. See how that feels. And if that is really tight in the back of the leg, soften through the knee. Just relax the front foot. Try and press the toes down. Notice how that responds into the back leg. And then dig that heel back in, pulling those toes back. And again, taking those steps as you did on the other side to deepen the intensity, feel the challenge. Dropping right hip just as much as the left. Folding over the left leg, dropping the forehead down towards the shin. Nice and slowly. Bring yourself back. Take the blocks with you. Come off of that left leg and just circle it out. Good. Figure of 8s there. Good. Let's come off the knees. Sitting down, either facing the front or the side of your mat, coming into a dragonfly, which is a wide-legged posture. And again, you can, of course, bend into the knees. Just take a moment here to just feel the sit bones sitting nice and tall through the spine, pulling navel back. And just as we did when we were seated at the beginning with the bolster, notice the tilt of the pelvis. Is the pelvis tilting forward and the pubic bone lifted, or is the pubic bone tilted underneath? So from the side view, that kind of looks like that and like that. So we want to find somewhere in between, sitting up nice and tall. Now turn your attention to your feet. Are they flexed? Are they pointed? Are they turning and rolling in? Are they pointed up towards the sky? Think about the toes, the knees going up towards the sky, and then just point and flex. Point and flex. Notice the stretch at the back of the knees, back of the calves, into the hamstrings as you do that. And then do a small rotation, so big circles with the toes. Try and draw a big circle with the big toe. And the other way. Good. And let's take our blocks, bring them out in front of us. You can relax the legs now. Try and take all the tension away. Make a little Jenga pile with our blocks, and they can be on any height. So remember, you can do 2 blocks this height, a T shape. We're going to fold and place our head down onto the blocks. Bring the hands by the side of the blocks. Pull navel back towards the spine. And as you fold forward, notice, have the feet rolled in, have the legs rolled in, have the thighs rolled in. Keep those nice and open to the sky. Taking a few deep breaths, knowing where your target areas are in a wide-legged forward fold. Breathing into the areas of tightness and tension, trying to relax and let it go. If you've gone too far, come out a little bit, rearrange the height of the blocks. Intensifying challenge, taking away one of the blocks or changing the height. We're holding most of our postures for about a minute and a half, maybe a minute, some of them. So let's start to think about coming out. We bring the hands back so that we can push in to the mat, lift the head and start to roll up through the lower back. Chin stays in towards the chest. Roll up through the upper back, bring the head back up to center. Sit nice and tall. Let's turn the chest towards your right leg. So you're opening up into a rotation here through the chest. Nice. And we're going to think about our chest pressing forward towards the knee. Now notice what happens with your opposite leg. Does it roll in? If you can, try and keep that thigh rolling outwards as you gently fold forward. We're going to hold here for about 5 or 6 breaths, letting the head relax down towards the knee. Pulling the back buttock down, not letting that roll up or inwards. Trying to press both shoulders equally, not one more than the other. Slowly roll up, lift up to the start and turn to center. Let's go to the other side. Turn the chest, open, really nice and proud towards that extended leg, and then gently fold it forward, nice flat back, hinging from the hip and just pressing both shoulders equally. So what tends to happen is that your back shoulder might drop further forward. As you drop your right shoulder inwards, you're going to notice the intensity come in, making sure that back leg doesn't roll inwards and you're pulling that buttock and sit bone down. Couple more breaths. Gently pull navel to spine. Only going as far as it feels as comfortable as you would like. Nice and slowly rolling up through the spine. Oh, good. Bring yourself back up into center. Take the hands to the knees. Lift the feet together. Place them out in front of you. Take the blocks to one side. And you might be facing forward or to the side of your mat here. Sitting nice and tall, you can place the hands behind you if you like. We're just going to rock the knees over, right and left. Get into the inner thighs, hips, that's it. And you might start to wiggle forward on each buttock. Good. And we're going to keep the left leg out first of all. So opening up into our deer pose, rearranging the legs as you need to, and sitting nice and tall. We're going to take a nice deep rotation over the front thigh. This is where the back buttock will lift off, and then get into that nice twist, get the belly free of the thigh, and gently fold over the thigh. Now this is where your target area most likely will be in those gluteals and the piriformis. Soften through the underneath buttock, underneath outer hip. Let the body release as much as it can. And we're holding for about a minute and a half. It's not so much of a yin practice as just getting into all of the joints and the muscles of the body. Nice and slowly roll up through the spine. We're going to take a twist towards our back leg. So maybe you need to move your leg in a little bit to do that, to drop the buttock back down and open up the chest in a twist. What happens to the other leg? Does it lift up, or can you start to press that knee down by itself? Good. Slow, long, deep breaths. Beautiful. And slowly bring yourself back into center. Rock onto that left buttock as you open to the other side. So let's turn, twist. We stretch through that hip flexor and quadricep there, and then get the belly free of that right thigh, and then exhaling over. Head might be on a block, or the hands here. Should have said on the other side, sorry. Softening through the underneath buttock, relaxing into that hip joint. Notice where you feel the target area on the second side. Place the hands down as you lift the head, rolling up through the spine. Come all the way up, dropping that back buttock, moving that leg in if you need to, and start to rotate through the spine to the opposite side, pressing down that what was then your front leg. Press the knee down. And then nice and slowly just drop back over onto that buttock so that you can release that leg, opening out the hip. I'm going to now face the front of my mat, so you probably are. Soles of the feet together. Sit into that butterfly. See if you can take the hands down, interlace the fingers underneath the toes, and see if you can just gently lengthen the spine. Sit nice and tall. Pull shoulders down. Pull the heels in as close as you can, and just rock left and right. Buttocks. Maybe you're dropping a knee down either side, and then press both knees down. Go easy with that one. Ankles, knees, and the hips. And nice and slowly release the fingers. Keep the feet where they are for a moment. Use the elbows to gently press. Nice. And then keep the left leg out in front of you. We're going to lift the right, and we're going to swing it back behind us into a half saddle or a half hero. So open out the calf, just roll the calf out of the way. Now, if this is really too much, you can sit on a block here, so you can place the block underneath, and this might be enough if you've got knee or ankle tightness here, maybe in the quad as well, so choosing the options. And this might be enough. If you feel that you want to, you can start to go back. Again, using bolsters or blocks, trying to lengthen that right knee down. This is where we're starting to target into our front thighs. And that might be enough there on the elbows. or you could continue to go back onto the shoulders. I'll let you make that decision. And remember those two yamas, Ahimsa and Satya. It's always, those are our external disciplines, no harm to others, and being honest and authentic and with integrity, but it really does apply to ourselves through asana postures as well. Nice and slowly come back upright, roll over onto your left buttock to free that right leg, and then bring the left leg back. Again, open out the left calf underneath you. Sit nice and tall. Use the block if you need. Good. And then gently roll back to wherever feels good place to stay and hold. Trying to lengthen that left knee downwards. Noticing any differences from right to left. Always being aware of your breath, your pranayama, one of the other limbs. If the breath becomes short, or you're holding the breath, maybe you've gone too far. Nice and slowly bring yourself back up to seated. Roll over onto that buttock and bring yourself up. Good. Again, we can move sideways onto the mat, padding out the knees. We're going to come into a full frog pose because we've done the half frogs. Sliding the knees out to the side, gentle flexion through the toes, through the ankles, and dropping down. And just notice here, if you rock forwards and backwards, you're going to push the pelvis back towards the heels. Make sure there's a 90-degree bend at the ankle, the knee, and the hip if you can. And always using your own range of motion as a guide. Using gravity to help you. That's it. Nice. Good frogs. Notice where you might be clenching, tensing up here. Again, follow the breath as your guide. Holding just a few more breaths. Give in to gravity. Coming out of the pose, bring the hands underneath the body. Push up, first of all, onto the elbows. Bring the toes together and then gently press the hips back towards the heels. You're going to get that deep stretch there in a sort of child's pose, and then bring the hands underneath the body to roll up through tadpole, hopefully coming to either the back of your mat or the side of your mat. Bringing the knees together, Last little front body stretch here is our full quad lift. Hands come back behind you, either fingertips down or on the blocks, and just lifting up the hips away from the heels, stretching through the front body from knee to shoulder. Nice. Open up the chest. Maybe the gaze goes to the sky if you like and the neck allows it. Let the head drop back, but make sure that the neck isn't being compressed by the shoulders. Open, 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 chest and shoulders. Push hips. Oh, nice and slowly. Lower it down. Come off of the wrists and the hands and just circle. Give the fingers, the wrists a little shake out. Swing the legs around in front of you, shuffle all the way forwards to the front of your mat, and then take a nice slow roll down all the way onto your back. Draw the knees in towards the chest here. Drop through the pelvis, the spine. Make sure the spine is nice and flat and spread out underneath you. Make sure that your chin isn't lifting too high or dipping too much to the chest. You can always use a block or a thin pillow underneath the back of the head. And rock and roll and massage through the spine. Circling both knees together one way and circling both knees together the other way. Opening out the knees away from one another, circling into the hips. And let's go for half cradle, which is basically a single knee to the chest. Left leg, place the sole of the foot down. You keep the right knee in towards the chest here. If you like, you can extend the underneath leg, the left leg, all the way along the mat. Notice if you've hitched a hip at all or both hips and level. From here, we keep the thigh as close as we can towards the body, but we're going to open the knee, open the hip out to the side, dropping the thigh down towards the mat and the outer rib cage. We're going to lift the foot, come into half happy baby or half stirrup. Pulling thigh downwards, making sure that that left leg is either bent or straight, that you're pulling down the leg if it's straight. Pull it down the mat. Nice. Good. Gentle flexion into that right foot, pushing the sole of the foot up towards the sky. From here, if you hadn't already had a bent left leg, bend that knee up and cross your right foot over your left thigh. Gently use your fingers to guide that right knee out. Press, press, press it out. Notice how that opens up into your right hip. So you can just press it lightly. Keep a light flexion into that right foot as it crosses over that left thigh. We're going to interlace our fingers underneath the left thigh and come into our all four pose or reclined pigeon. Exhaling there as you draw that left knee in. Great if you do lots of squats every day to release out your glutes. The deeper this posture is going to feel is that pulling that knee closer, closer, closer in towards the chest and opening out your right knee. Try and relax through the right glutes, through the right outer hip, Let go of the hands, let go of that left leg down towards the mat. Keep the right foot where it is for now. We're going to roll over onto our right hip and we're going to pull gently our left knee down with our right foot. That's it. So maybe the right knee comes down onto a block or a bolster, opening out the arms, dropping both shoulders as much as you can. Now notice where that twist might target. I can feel it in the left lower back side of me, but you might feel it somewhere completely different. You might feel it into the left hip flexor, the left outer hip. You might feel it into the knee. You might feel it into the shoulders, the chest. Intensifying the stretch, turning the gaze to look towards the left palm, and maybe intensifying the stretch by pressing down through the right foot on the left thigh. From here, if you can, just gently bring the head back and release the right foot. So stay in that wide-legged twist, wide-kneed, should say. Nice and slowly, then bring the knees back in, windscreen wiper, all the way over to the left. Oh, that felt nice. And back into center. Take a moment, rest in constructive rest. So feet go wide, knees come in towards one another. We've got to repeat that all on the left now. So we've got a half cradle, a half stirrup, all four pose or recline pigeon, and then the twist. Draw the knees in, roll and massage out. Again, use the both knees together technique, circling, both knees together, the opposite direction. Open the knees. Now notice how that right hip feels, maybe a little bit easier. And let's go straight into our half cradle. So left knee comes in towards the chest, right leg can stay bent, or you can extend that leg along the mat. We're pulling thigh towards belly, rib cage, and shoulder. Lengthening out the leg underneath if you've extended it, making sure the feet are firmly planted if you've kept it bent. Pulling navel to spine, spine to mat. Let's open that knee gently out to the side. Try and keep the thigh where it is. Open the knee, open the hip. Give it a little press with the left hand. Then open up that foot to the sky, taking hold of the outer edge of the foot or the ankle or behind the thigh. Pulling that left thigh downwards, past the rib cage, down towards the mat. So it's technically a half happy baby, also known as half stirrup. And every lineage has a different name for different postures, but they're all the same. At the end of the day, it's all asana, all of the postures. And all of the postures have been created to be able to allow us to sit for a long period of time in meditation and contemplation. That's all those postures have been created for. But obviously they do help the functional workings of the body, the skeletal, the muscular systems. So if you'd extended the leg along the mat, bring that knee back in, cross over, left foot on right thigh. Use the left hand to just gently press that knee out a little bit. And then interlace the fingers behind the back of that right thigh. Relax that right foot. Keep the left foot active. Draw the right knee in towards you. Ooh, a lot tighter this side. Nice deep exhale through tightness, through challenge, opening that left knee out, using the elbow. Again, all of these things intensify the challenge, and this might be enough without doing any of it. So the deeper it's going to feel is when you bring that right knee closer and the left knee away. Relaxing that right foot. Doesn't have to be held up in the air. That's it. Yeah. And nice and slowly let go of the hands. Place the right foot down. And then we're going to roll onto the left hip, which means the left knee then comes down towards the mat. You just try and relax through that right knee there, widening the knee if you need to, opening out the arms to the side, straightening off across the chest, and the shoulders are grounding. Use that left leg, the weight of the left foot, to pull that right knee down, and then maybe intensifying the stretch by turning to look towards your right hand. Noticing differences as we change to the other side, of course, throughout all of those postures, linked together. They work through the rotations of the spine, the openings of the hip, quads, hamstrings. I'm definitely noticing a lot different on this side. I can't get my knee down, which means that I should really be putting a block underneath that knee to fill the space. Give that right knee just a little bit more of a press down with that left foot. And then gently release the left foot. Wide kneed windscreen wiper there. And bring them back through center. Take it all the way over to the other side. Oh, what a release. Exhale there. Breathe in, bring back into center, place the feet wide, knees drop in towards one another. Take a moment's rest, exhaling through the belly and the spine, noticing the differences as you come out of all of that. Heel toe into parallel, draw the knees in. Again, just follow that little circling routine, knees together, swirling one way, knees together, swirling the other. Knees wide, opening out into the hips one way and the other. So last posture is a pontoon. If you have a block handy, grab that. Mine are a little bit further away. That means I need to get up. Oh dear. Placing your block on the lowest or the middle height. So I'm actually going to go low today. That then gets placed underneath the pelvis. So it's a supported bridge to start off with. Buttocks hang off of the ends and your lower back is gently lifted away from the mat. You can open up the arms into cactus, spreading the shoulders nice and wide from one another. And just finding that supported bridge, dropping the weight into the pelvis and the hips there. Deep breath out. Extending the right leg first of all, just noticing the stretch coming into the right hip flexor and the psoas there. Let that right leg become heavier and heavier and heavier. Bringing the right leg back, placing the sole of the foot down, realigning, dropping back into that supported bridge, and then extending left. All the way along the mat, drop into the left hip flexor and the left psoas. Again, if you've gone for the medium level, the higher level of the two block placements, you'll notice that the stretch is much more intense. Bringing left foot back on the mat, dropping back into supported bridge. Now, if you want, you can stay here, or you can extend both legs together, right and left. Exhaling, giving into all of that weight across that middle section of the body. Quads are relaxed. Hip flexors are nice and open to the sky. Stretch through the abdominals and the psoas region. Chest is nice and open. Maybe you're in cactus. Maybe the arms come back down by the hips. Spread the shoulder blades from one another. Relax the face. Make sure you're resting on the back of the skull and the neck is long. Soften through the glutes here. If you've noticed, you might have taken tension there. And give in to the weight and gravity. Bring the hands back first by the side of the body. Right leg steps back. Left leg steps back. Find that supported bridge first of all. And then push through the feet and the palms to just gently lift the hips up into a bridge. Extend the knees away. Engage the glutes this time. Lengthen the neck. Look to the sky. Hold and breathe. Last bit of effort for our bridge. Lift, lift, lift. Hips a bit more. Shoulder blades gently pull together underneath you. And before you start to roll down, take the block away. Then shoulders spread out. Upper back comes down. Middle back starts to come down. The belly is scooping up. Pubic bone is rounding up. Tailbone is rounding. And you're still coming down. Each and every vertebra, one after the other, brings you all the way back down. Flatten out. And then gently draw knees in. Again, circling one way, both knees together. Circle the other, both knees together. Open the hips. One way and the other. If there is something else that you need to do, yogi's choice, whatever that might be, it might be a twist, it might be a stretch. I'm going to do a full body stretch, reaching the arms up above the head, reaching the toes away. And then this is your chance to just do what you need to do before you come into Shavasana, whatever your body's calling you to do. Again, being authentic, truthful to yourself, and coming all the way into your final relaxation of Shavasana, making yourself warm and comfortable. The body temperature drops significantly when we stay still. Exhaling, softening through the feet, ankles, legs. Hips are relaxed. There's no tension to hold the legs in place. Really allow the feet to rest out to the sides. The toes just flop open. And you space out the shoulder blades underneath you. You can lift up, pull them apart. Hands out by the side of you. Palms are gently face up. There again, there's no tension in the hands or the fingers, so the fingertips gently curl in towards the palms. And as you lie down, you give yourself this body scan from the crown of the head all the way down through the spine, the arms, the hips, the legs, into the feet, checking in with how you now feel. And Shavasana is corpse pose. It's the end of the practice. It's the coming together of everything that you've done, and you've invited pretty much majority of those 8 limbs into the practice, probably unknowingly. The yamas, the external disciplines, the niyamas, internal disciplines, which we haven't spoken about in this practice. The asana, the postures, well, we've done those. The pranayama, the breath control, we've done that. The pratyahara, haven't touched upon that one, but that's the withdrawal of the senses. So we become immersed in the moment. We forget about our senses of sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell when we're in the flow and in the moment of movement. Then we had the meditation and the concentration of dhyana and dharana, which is that movement in meditation, or even just sitting there at the beginning, meditating. And finally, the 8th limb being samadhi, the coming together, the fulfillment, and the enlightenment. And this, the Shavasana, could be your samadhi. The reward. And I'll leave you for a few moments of silence, letting you know when it's time to come back around. Deepening the breath in, exhale, sigh it out. Bring your awareness back to your surroundings, back into the body. Wiggling fingers, moving wrists, wiggling toes, moving ankles. Stretching the body, lifting the arms up above the head and the knees in towards the chest. You can return back, if you like, to that massaging motion, both knees swirling one way and the other, and opening up into the hips. Rolling over to one side, taking time to gently press yourself back up to seated. Ooh. Sitting nice and tall, whether that's on your bolster or your block. Bringing the hands into Anjali Mudra at heart center. Sitting nice and tall. Just press the palms together so that the elbows lift. Nice energetic Anjali Mudra there. Remind yourself of our theme, but also your intention. How would you like to feel through the practice and afterwards, but also to be able to take some of the theme of the Yamas, the first limb of the 8 limbs of yoga, off the mat into daily life, the Ahimsa, the non-harming, the kindness, everything you say, you do, and how you act, and also the Satya, the trust, the honesty, the authenticity, and the integrity. And those external disciplines, those moral guidelines, code of conduct. Always thanking yourself, and I thank you. Namaste.